Hi everyone, it's Paige with Paige Little Photography. I am going to be editing this little gem here. This is straight out of camera. I shoot with a D4, a 50mm with my Alien B off to the side. So what I'm going to do is move this out of the way. I am going to open this up in Camera Raw, and I'm going to fix my adjustments. And I probably shot this image, I wonder if it tells me. Yeah, 2.8 all up here. So it says 2.8, 1/200th, and ISO of 160 and a 50mm. Usually I only shoot at 100, but I don't know, must have left it there. Anyways, so I'm just going to fix my adjustments to where I like them. I just kind of, go back and forth and see what I like. And then I open it up and I finish off in Photoshop. This image is not as sharp as I thought it would be. So I'm just going to sharpen up those eyes and the lips. And the first thing I'm going to do is I always crop and then work around that. So I like my babies to be a little bit on an angle, not so much straight on. And I just do that, bring it in just a tiny bit, and make sure that my content aware is on. And that way it fills in the sides as much as possible. And if I see that it doesn't look too great, which it did a pretty good job on my end here, I'm going to fix this. I'll do a blanket fade here and make it nice and smooth. So I'll start with that. So I do a new layer. I take a color that's closest to the body, and I do a big brush and my opacity at 30 or 20 or 30. I'm just going to check it out with what. Yeah, that's good. And then what I do is I just keep color snapping as I go. Actually, I'm going to go back and redo that. I'm going to do my opacity at 20. I think it's too much. Yeah, so there you go. So I just do this, and I take a shot here, and I go like this. And it's okay to paint over baby because we're going to do a little mask after and paint it off of him. There we go. Just keep blending so that all those colors blend nicely. And you do see right here that you can see where it didn't make a very good content aware blending, whatever you want to call it there. So I'll fix that in a minute. And here too. So I'm just going to go and do like a 15%. There. So I'm going to put a mask on that. I'm going to I'm going to take it off so I can see the background. And I'm going to do my selective tool here, and I am just going to select just baby. Trying to get as close as I can to the edges without it freaking out on me. And selecting the whole image like it just did. Alright, now I'm not too worried that it's not so close because I'm going to go back in there and clean it up. So I'm just going to turn this layer back on. I am going to do my select tool here, and I am going to select, no I'm not going to select inverse. Sorry, I'm just going to go over here and use my black brush at 100%. There we go, yeah. And I'm just going to take it off. And then I'm going to go in with a smaller brush, and I'm going to paint around those edges at 100% opacity so it brings back those little fuzzies. It doesn't look so cut edge. Oops. Bring you back up here, little guy. There. Just slowly go around. If the colors didn't match and weren't blended well, you could really see the haling over it. You may see a little bit of haling right now. I'm going to fix that because I'm not going to keep it at 100%. Like, this is not going to be like this in a second. So now I'm going to take a bigger brush, 100% opacity, and I'm just going to paint back the shadows and as close as I can. I want it to look natural, not just so far in there. Alright, so that looks pretty decent to me. The edges look good. Background looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten that. And then I'm going to do some touching up here because I could still see something here unless it's something on my screen. Nope. See, that was definitely a spot. And then I'm just going to blend that better. Whatever I can see. Just blend, blend, blend. That looks pretty good so far. Alright, now I'm going to go off to his skin and I'm going to do some cleanup. So I'm going to use my spot healing brush and just take away all those little milk spots. Alright. He is nice and round. Whoops. Mistake. He is nice and round, but I do want to make it a little bit more. So I'm going to take my liquefy tool and I'm going to make it really big. And I'm just going to bring this a little bit and tuck. Then I'm going to make it a little bit more of an arch in his back and bring that bum up just a bit. Just a bit. So that, now that. So what's next? What's next? Let's finish off that skin. I am going to do a hue and saturation layer. Reds. And this is just selecting, like this is just showing you where the reds are, so I'm bringing this hue all the way down and then I'm moving this, and this is taking a lot of reds or, you know, the splotchy spots that you want to fix. And I usually go around 5, 6. Doesn't make a huge difference, but you can see it. Just takes the real big redness out. Now I'm going to go to my brush and I am going to paint that off his lips because the lips are red. And that's at 100% opacity. And then I'm going to flatten. And I am going to use my frequency separation, my favorite tool. So you want to make enough, this might even be too much, where it just barely you can see detail. Like you can see that there's an eyelid there, but you can't see like the line underneath the eyelid or whatever. So you want to make sure that you can barely see the detail. Press OK, and then you're going to go to here, and this is your color, and this is your texture. So I'm going to fix the color and like the splotchiness of his skin. So I'm going to go to my selective tool. You're going to make sure that it's feathered at 10 because if not, you're going to get hard edges. And you're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur, and I usually go to about, oh, and I totally forgot to select an area before I did that. Select an area, make sure it's at 10% or 10 pixels, and then blur, Gaussian blur. I hope I'm not making everybody all screwed up. And about 16. I never go really over 20 because I think that's just overkill. but it does depend on the image. Excuse me. And I'm just going to go in sections where it makes more sense. And I'm going to Alt Control F, and that just kind of repeats the whole Gaussian blur. And there, this side of his lip, that's too far, that's too close to the lip. There. You're even going to go right to his arm, but you're going to avoid those dark marks, or else it just kind of looks weird in my opinion. Alright, so this is now, did I do here? Like, it doesn't look like I did anything. Oh, now it worked. Alright, so this is going to be the difference here. So I didn't take away the texture of his skin because that's still there. It's just really, it's blending your colors to make it look softer. So that was before, and this is after. Now, sometimes to me, it's just a personal preference, but I feel that sometimes when I do that, it takes away the highlights. So I'm just going to go in with my dodge tool, and I'm just going to go in at like a very small opacity, like 5, and I'm just going to hit it like maybe once or twice, right where the highlights should hit. And that's very subtle. So it just gives it some depth. Now there's a little red spot to me that I don't like right there, so I'm just going to, I'm so used to using my actions and trying not to use those, so I'm going to use my hue and saturation and go to reds, pull that back down, and then I'm going to pull it back up, and I'm going to Control I to invert it, and I'm very small brush, like 20%, I'm going to paint back that color with a white brush. There. That's it for that. So I'm going to flatten, and I'm going to use some curves, and I'm going to brighten up the image just a little bit. And that's a little too much in my opinion, but I am going to Control I. And I'm going to slowly paint where I want my light. I want his face to brighten up a bit. Maybe a little bit of a background here. There. So that is very subtle. There. So that is that. I think if you can look back, that really bothers me, that little area right there. So I'm just going to come in and fix that. And that's it. I do have a portraiture that I like to use, and I have it as a action, and you can buy that, but for now, like, this is okay, like this is pretty well finished. Usually I just do this, smooths the skin a little bit, but this is too much, like that's for me too much for my liking, so I really do just bring it down quite a bit and make it very subtle. Maybe a little bit more. There. And then I go back in with my black brush at 100%, and I make sure I paint over the eyes, the mouth, the hair, anything that should have texture, like his toes, and I don't like his fingers to be blurred out either. There. And that's pretty well a finished product for me. And I will show you, and then I usually just sharpen it, but I will show you a before and after now. So that was before, and this is after. Thanks for watching.